Deep beneath the dark Pacific waters, something extraordinary was about to unfold. A Soviet submarine, silent and deadly, had vanished without a trace, and no one knew why. The year was 1968. The Cold War was at its most tense, with the United States and Soviet Union locked in a global chess match of espionage, military might, and nuclear threat. Every movement, every secret, could potentially trigger worldwide catastrophe. On March 8, a Soviet submarine called K-129 departed its base in Kamchatka, Russia, carrying nuclear missiles and a crew of 98 Soviet sailors. Its mission was classified, its destination unknown, and then, nothing. Complete radio silence. Days passed, then weeks. The Soviet Navy searched frantically, scanning hundreds of thousands of square miles of ocean. But the submarine had seemingly been swallowed by the sea itself. What happened to the K-129 would become one of the most incredible and secret military operations in Cold War history. A mission so audacious, so complex, that it would push the boundaries of technology, espionage, and human determination. The Americans were watching, and they knew something the Soviets did not. At the top-secret headquarters of the Central Intelligence Agency in Langley, Virginia, a team of brilliant analysts and engineers were piecing together an extraordinary puzzle. They had intercepted signals, tracked underwater acoustic patterns, and triangulated the submarine's likely location. The K-129 hadn't just disappeared. It had sunk. Deep in the Pacific Ocean, nearly 3 miles beneath the surface, lay a potential treasure trove of Soviet military secrets. But recovering a submarine at that depth was considered impossible. The pressure alone would crush any conventional submarine or recovery vessel. The technical challenges were mind-boggling. No one had ever attempted a deep-sea recovery mission of this magnitude. Enter Howard Hughes. The eccentric billionaire and aerospace engineer was about to become an unexpected player in this high-stakes Cold War drama. The CIA approached Hughes with a radical plan. They would construct a massive custom-built ship, designed specifically to retrieve the submarine. But this couldn't look like a military operation. It had to appear like one of Hughes' typical bizarre industrial projects. Thus the ship Glomar Explorer was born. Ostensibly a deep-sea mining vessel, it was in reality a sophisticated recovery platform. Its true mission was known only to a handful of people at the highest levels of government. The ship was a marvel of engineering. A massive mechanical claw would be lowered through a huge opening in the ship's hull, designed to literally grab the entire submarine and lift it from the ocean floor. The technical challenges were immense. One miscalculation could mean total failure. The mission was dubbed Project Azorian, a name chosen to provide maximum secrecy and misdirection. The stakes couldn't have been higher. If successful, the Americans could potentially recover Soviet nuclear codes, missile technology, and communication logs that would provide unprecedented intelligence. But the Soviets were watching too. Every move had to be calculated, every detail meticulously planned. As the Glomar Explorer prepared for its unprecedented mission, tension mounted. Would they succeed in recovering the submarine? And what secrets might be hidden in its cold, dark hull? The ocean kept its silence, but not for long. The Soviet Navy had been searching for months, their surface vessels crisscrossing the vast Pacific, leaving intricate patterns of wake and worry. What they didn't know was that the Americans had pinpointed the exact coordinates months earlier, using a combination of classified satellite imagery and advanced underwater acoustic tracking. John Parangoski, the CIA's top-secret operations director, understood the magnitude of what they were attempting. This wasn't just a recovery mission. This was a potential game-changer in the Cold War intelligence landscape. The K-129 carried secrets that could dramatically shift the balance of global power. The ship's construction had been a masterpiece of misdirection. Hughes Industrial Technologies had supposedly commissioned the Glomar Explorer as a deep-sea mining vessel, complete with elaborate cover stories about mineral extraction from the ocean floor. In reality, every inch of the ship had been designed with one purpose: submarine retrieval. The mechanical retrieval system was an engineering marvel. A massive hydraulic lifting mechanism, nicknamed the Claw, would descend through a specially designed moon pool, a huge opening in the ship's hull that allowed direct access to the ocean below. Precision was everything. At nearly 3 miles deep, the slightest miscalculation would mean catastrophic failure. Captain Carl Helmsen, selected to lead the mission, knew the risks were astronomical. The ocean at that depth was a dark, unforgiving environment. Pressures would reach nearly 6,000 pounds per square inch. Any structural weakness would mean instant destruction. The entire recovery would need to happen with surgical precision. Behind the scenes, a team of linguists and cryptanalysts had been working tirelessly, analyzing every scrap of intelligence they could gather about the K-129. Soviet communication logs, intercepted radio transmissions, satellite imagery, every fragment was examined, cross-referenced, debated. The submarine's potential cargo was tantalizing. Nuclear missile launch codes, communication logs that could reveal Soviet submarine communication strategies, potentially even intact nuclear warheads. Each possibility represented a potential intelligence windfall that could provide unprecedented insights into Soviet military capabilities. But the mission was fraught with risks beyond the technical challenges. If the Soviets discovered their true intentions, it could spark an international incident. Diplomatic relations were already fragile. One misstep could escalate tensions into open conflict. The technical team had developed specialized lifting mechanisms that could theoretically withstand the immense pressures. Specially designed hydraulic systems, reinforced steel cables, and complex stabilization algorithms were all part of an intricate plan. They had run hundreds of computer simulations, each one revealing potential failure points that needed re-emint. Howard Hughes himself was involved in ways few understood. His reputation as an eccentric industrialist provided perfect cover. Who would suspect that his seemingly bizarre industrial projects were actually complex intelligence operations? Hughes understood the value of misdirection, of creating elaborate narratives that would deflect suspicion. The CIA had spent months developing contingency plans. What if the submarine was only partially recoverable? What if Soviet vessels approached during the operation? What if the mechanical systems failed? Each scenario had been wargamed, each potential outcome analyzed and prepared for. Cutting-edge technology was being deployed in ways never before attempted. Sonar systems so sensitive they could detect microscopic changes in underwater terrain. Specialized robotic systems that could potentially operate in environments too dangerous for human intervention. Computer systems that could process millions of calculations per second to ensure precise positioning. The psychological preparation was just as crucial as the technical preparations. The team knew that a single moment of hesitation, a single miscalculation could doom the entire mission. Months of training, of simulation, of mental conditioning had prepared them for this moment. As the Glomar Explorer prepared to make its approach, the tension was palpable. Years of planning, billions of dollars of investment, and the potential to unlock some of the Cold War's most closely guarded secrets hung in the balance. The ocean, vast and inscrutable, held its breath. Would they succeed where everyone else had failed? The mission was about to begin. The massive crane of the Glomar Explorer began its delicate descent, steel cables cutting through the dark Pacific waters with surgical precision. Each meter of descent was monitored by technicians whose gears hovered above complex control panels, tracking minute changes in pressure, position, and structural integrity. Deep beneath the surface, the K-129 waited, a silent tomb of Cold War secrets. The hydraulic systems hummed with controlled energy, sophisticated robotic arms extending into the underwater darkness like mechanical tentacles searching for precise connection points. Hours passed. Millimeters became centimeters. The tension aboard the ship was so thick it seemed to compress the very air around them. No one spoke. Every team member understood the astronomical stakes of this moment. Suddenly, a slight vibration, a minor shift in the sonar readings. Something was happening. Captain Gerald Paulson, a veteran of numerous covert maritime operations, watched the readouts with steely concentration. His weathered hands gripped the edge of the monitoring station, knuckles white with controlled anticipation. The submarine began to rise. Slowly, painfully slowly. But something was wrong. The port side of the recovery apparatus was experiencing unexpected stress. Microfractures were developing in the support structures unseen by the naked eye but dangerous beyond measure. Lateral stability compromised, whispered one of the engineers, his ice barely audible. In mission control, thousands of miles away, CIA directors leaned forward, watching the live telemetry with a mixture of hope and dread. Years of planning, billions in secret funding could disintegrate in moments. The recovery mechanism groaned. Metallic stress sounds echoed through the ship's hull. For a moment it seemed the entire operation might collapse, literally and figuratively. Then, miraculously, stabilization. The K-129 began ascending, suspended in the massive steel embrace of the Glomar Explorer's specialized lifting mechanism. Inch by inch, meter by meter, the submarine emerged from its watery grave. When its ally broke the surface, the team's collective exhale was audible throughout the ship. They had done what many considered impossible. Initial assessments were promising. Certain compartments remained sealed, offering tantalizing possibilities of preserved intelligence materials, nuclear codes, communication logs, potential technological secrets that could reshape Cold War dynamics. But the victory was bittersweet. The recovery was partial. Significant portions of the submarine remained unrecoverable, lost to the ocean's depths, and the human cost the Soviet sailors who had perished was not lost on the team. In the weeks and months that followed, teams of cryptanalysts and intelligence specialists would meticulously examine every recovered fragment. Each document, each mechanism would be studied with microscopic attention. The mission would remain classified for decades. Those who knew the full story were few, bound by layers of secrecy that would outlast the Cold War itself. What they had accomplished was more than a technical marvel. It was a testament to human ingenuity, to the complex chess match of international intelligence gathering, where success was measured not in dramatic confrontations but in quiet, calculated operations conducted far from public view. As the Glomar Explorer made its long journey back to port, the recovered submarine represented more than a physical object. It was a symbol, Paul, of technological prowess, of geopolitical maneuvering, and of the extraordinary lengths nations would go to understand their adversaries. The ocean, which had guarded its secret for years, had yielded its prize, and the world would never be quite the same. The true magnitude of the operation would only become clear decades later, when classified documents began to be declassified and historians could piece together the full narrative. What had seemed like a daring Cold War gambit was, in reality, a meticulously planned intelligence coup that represented the pinnacle of technological and strategic innovation. The recovered materials would provide critical insights into Soviet submarine technology, communication protocols, and nuclear capabilities. Dr. Eleanor Reeves, who would later become a prominent historian of covert operations, would describe the K-129 recovery as a watershed moment in intelligence gathering, a perfect intersection of engineering brilliance and geopolitical audacity. The sailors and technicians who participated in the mission would carry their secrets to their graves. Most would never receive public recognition. Their families would know only fragments, whispered hints of something extraordinary that had occurred deep in the Pacific's silent depths. Years later, some of the recovered materials would dart their way into museums and specialized archives. Fragments of communication logs, pieces of cryptographic equipment, sections of the submarine's hull, each a silent testament to a moment when technology and human determination had pushed the boundaries of what seemed possible. The ocean, which had been both protector and betrayer, remained indifferent to the human drama that had played out above and within its immense darkness. Its currents continued to flow, its depths continued to conceal countless other secrets. For those who understood the true significance of the operation, the K-129 recovery represented more than a technical achievement. It was a reminder of the complex, often invisible conflicts that shaped global politics during the Cold War, conflicts fought not with bullets and bombs but with intelligence, strategy, and an almost incomprehensible level of calculated risk. As twilight settled over the Pacific, casting long shadows across waters that had witnessed this extraordinary moment, the story of the K-129 became another layer in the complex geological and human history of our world, a whispered legend of human determination, technological marvel, and silent struggle between nations. The submarine secrets were now part of history, fragmented, partially understood, but forever etched into the intricate narrative of global conflict and human ambition.